They called me nobody. Today I was about to show them who was really nothing. But first, let me tell you how a coffee shop girl became the woman who destroyed an empire in one wedding day. My name is Layla Winters and I'm 30 years old. I had a normal childhood growing up. My parents died in a car crash when I was 12. After that, I lived with my grandfather in his comfortable house in Manchester. Grandpa was a wise man.
He worked regular hours and always made time for me.
We lived comfortably, not rich, but not poor either. Our house was nice and cozy. We ate good home-cooked meals. I wore decent clothes from regular shops. But Grandpa always lived simply, even though I sometimes noticed he could afford more. He always told me one important thing. "Layla, my dear," he would say, "never let anyone make you feel small. Money doesn't make you better than others, and lack of money doesn't make you less. You're worth more than you know." I didn't fully understand what he meant then. I was just a girl who missed her parents but felt loved by her grandfather. When I turned 18, Grandpa got sick. Cancer. I took care of him for 2 years while working part-time at a bakery. We had good insurance, but I wanted to be there for him. I watched the strongest man I know get weaker every day. Before he died, he called me to his bedside. His hands were shaking as he gave me a sealed envelope. "Promise me something, Lila," he whispered. "Don't open this until your wedding day. And remember, you are never nobody. You are my granddaughter, and that means everything." I cried and promised him. 3 days later, he was gone. After his funeral, I moved to London. I found a small but decent apartment and got a job at Bean There Coffee Shop. It was a cozy place, near the business district. Every morning I served coffee to business people in suits. Most were polite, but some acted like I was invisible. I was just another working girl, but I was proud of my honest work and independence. That's where I met Ethan Drake. Ethan was different from other customers.
He was 32 with dark hair and kind green eyes.
He wore expensive suits, but he always smiled at me. Really smiled, not just politeness. For 3 months, he came every morning at exactly 8:15. He ordered black coffee and a blueberry muffin. He always said please and thank you. He asked how my day was going. He remembered my name. One rainy Tuesday morning, he was late. When he finally arrived at 8:45, he looked nervous. "Leela," he said, fidgeting with his tie. "I know this might sound strange, but would you like to have dinner with me sometime?" My heart stopped. A man like him asking out a girl like me? "Why?" I asked without thinking. He laughed. "Because you have the most beautiful smile in London. And because every morning when I see you, my whole day gets better." I said yes. How could I not? Our first date was magical. Ethan took me to a small Italian restaurant. Nothing too fancy, which I appreciated. He told me about his work at his family's hotel. I told him about my dreams of maybe opening my own coffee shop someday. "You should do it," he said, his eyes lighting up. "You'd be amazing at running your own business." For the first time since Grandpa died, someone believed in me. We dated for 2 wonderful years. Ethan was everything I had ever dreamed of. He was kind, funny, and smart.
He brought me flowers every Friday. He held my hand while we walked through parks.
He told me I was beautiful even when I wore my old jeans and coffee-stained apron. "I love you, Layla Winters," he said one evening, as we watched the sunset by the Thames. "You're the most real person I've ever met." "I love you too," I whispered back. And I meant it with my whole heart. Then he proposed. It was simple and perfect. He got down on one knee in the same coffee shop where we met. All my coworkers were crying. I said yes before he even finished asking, but then everything changed. "I want you to meet my family," Ethan said a week after our engagement. "They're having dinner at our house this Sunday." I was nervous but excited. I wanted his family to love me as much as I loved him. I bought a nice navy blue dress with small flowers. Nothing too expensive, but it was pretty and appropriate. I did my hair carefully and practiced what I would say. The Drake family lived in a mansion in Kensington. When I saw the house, my mouth fell open. It was huge with perfect gardens and a fountain in front. I suddenly felt very small in my simple dress. Ethan squeezed my hand. "Don't worry, They'll love you. But when the door opened, I knew he was wrong. Mrs. Victoria Drake stood there in a designer dress that probably cost more than I made in a year. She looked me up and down like I was something dirty she found on her shoe. "So you're the coffee girl," she said with a cold smile. "How Mr. James Drake barely looked at me. He shook my hand like he was touching garbage and then walked away without saying a word. Dinner was horrible. They asked me questions that weren't really questions. They were tests. "What do your parents do, dear?" Mrs. Drake asked sweetly. "They died when I was young," I said quietly. "Oh, how sad. And your grandfather? What was his profession?"
He had his own small business, I said, which was true in a way. Small business, Mr. Drake repeated with a dismissive tone.
How dust. They talked about people I didn't know, places I'd never been, and things I couldn't afford. I sat quietly, feeling smaller and smaller. After dinner, Ethan walked me to the door. "That went well," he said, but he wouldn't look in my eyes. "Did it?" I asked. "My parents just need time to get to know you," he said. "They're protective." I wanted to believe him. But deep down, I knew they hated me. The next few months were strange. Ethan was still loving when we were alone. But whenever his family was around, he became different, quieter, like he was embarrassed of me.
His mother started calling me for lunch dates.
These weren't friendly meetings. They were lessons on how to be good enough for her son. "A Drake wife must always look perfect," she said during one lunch. "Perhaps we should take you shopping. You can't wear whatever this is to our events." She was talking about my favorite yellow dress, the one Ethan said made me look like sunshine. "Your hair needs professional styling," she continued. "And we should discuss your job. Drake wives don't work in coffee shops." I nodded and smiled, but inside I was dying a little bit each time. 3 months before our wedding, they called me to their house again. This time it wasn't for dinner. I sat in their fancy living room with gold decorations and paintings worth more than my annual salary. Mrs. Drake sat across from me like a queen on her throne. Mr. Drake pulled out official-looking papers. "Before you marry our son," he said coldly, "there are some things we need to make clear." He handed me the papers. My hands shook as I read them. It wasn't a prenup. It was a contract, a list of humiliating rules dressed up as tradition. The paper read like a prison sentence. I could never speak to the media about their family. Every outfit I wore would need Mrs. Victoria Drake's approval. And the career I had built for myself would have to end the moment I said, "I do." Visiting my own friends or family? Only with written permission. I would be forced to call his parents sir and madam. Forbidden from ever using their name for myself, and dragged into etiquette classes twice a week as if I were a child needing correction. I couldn't even spend more than £50 without their permission. And the final lines cut deepest. Without the Drake family, I was nobody. And if I broke a single rule, the marriage would be annulled instantly with nothing, no money. No property, no dignity left to my name. I read it twice. Each word felt like a knife in my heart. "This isn't a marriage contract," I whispered. This is slavery." Mrs. Drake laughed. A cold, cruel sound. "Don't be dramatic, dear. This is reality. You're marrying into one of London's most important families. We have standards." "Where's Ethan?" I asked. "Does he know about this?" "Ethan understands the importance of family traditions," Mr. Drake sighed. "He supports this completely." As if summoned, Ethan walked into the room. I looked at him with pleading eyes. "Ethan, please tell me you don't agree with this," I begged. He couldn't look at me. He stared at his expensive shoes and said, "Nothing, Ethan," I said louder. Finally, he looked up. "Leela, my family has been successful for generations because we maintain certain standards. Maybe it's better if we all understand expectations from the beginning." My heart shattered into a million pieces. The man I loved, the man who said I was the most real person he'd ever met, was choosing his cruel family over me. Mrs. Drake smiled triumphantly. "You see, dear, Ethan understands. Now will you sign?" I looked at the papers again. Then I looked around the room. These people who had everything were taking away my everything. But what choice did I have? I had no family, no money, no future. Without Ethan, I was exactly what they said I was. Nobody, so I signed. Mrs. Drake clapped her hands together. Wonderful. Now about the wedding dress. The next 3 months were the worst of my life. Mrs. Drake controlled everything about our wedding. The flowers, the music, the guest list. She even chose my dress. Something simple, she said when we went shopping. We don't want people thinking you're trying too hard. The dress was plain white satin. No lace, no beading, no personality. It looked like something you'd wear to someone else's funeral. It's perfect, Mrs. Drake declared. Very appropriate. I wanted to cry right there in the dress shop. Ethan and I barely saw each other during those months. When we did, he seemed different, distant, like he was already married to his family's expectations instead of me. Are you having second thoughts? I asked him one evening. About what?
He said, not looking up from his laptop. About us.
About marrying me. Don't be silly, Lila. Of course not. But he still wouldn't look at me. The night before our wedding, I sat alone in my tiny apartment. All my things were packed to move into Ethan's place after the honeymoon. I looked around at my simple life, my coffee-stained furniture, my books from charity shops, my few precious photos of Grandpa. I picked up the sealed envelope he had given me 5 years ago. Tomorrow was finally the day I could open it. But first, I had one more thing to do. I called my old friend Grace from the coffee shop. Layla, how are the wedding preparations going? She asked cheerfully. Grace, I need to ask you something. Do you remember my grandfather? Did he ever mention his work? Your grandfather was such a gentleman, Grace said. Always so well dressed when he came to visit you at work. Why do you ask? I don't know. Something's been bothering me. He always said I was worth more than I knew, and we lived so simply. But I sometimes noticed he could afford more. Well, he did always carry himself like a successful businessman, Grace said thoughtfully. Very confident and polished. And he always tipped generously. I wondered sometimes if your family had more money than you realized. My heart stopped. What are you talking about? Oh, honey, you really didn't know. Your grandfather was always very well dressed. Designer suits, expensive watch, perfect shoes. He tipped me £50 every time he bought coffee. I thought you knew your family was wealthy. I hung up the phone with shaking hands. Grandpa had money. But we lived in a small house. We ate simple food. Suddenly I understood. He was teaching me to be humble, to work hard, to never feel entitled to anything. With trembling fingers, I opened his envelope. Inside was a letter in his handwriting and several official documents from a law firm. My dearest Lila, if you're reading this, it's your wedding day and you've grown into the strong, independent woman I always knew you would become. I have a confession. I was never just a small business owner. 40 years ago, I started with one small hotel using money I saved and borrowed. I worked day and night to make it successful. I lived simply and reinvested everything back into the business. Then I bought another hotel, and another. I taught you to live modestly not because we were poor, but because I wanted you to understand that money should never change who you are. I wanted you to know the value of hard work and humility. Today, Winters International Hotel Group owns 47 luxury hotels in 12 countries. The business is worth approximately £500 million. I never told you because I wanted you to find your own strength first. I wanted you to know your worth had nothing to do with money or what others think of you. But now you're getting married, and it's time for you to claim your inheritance. You are the sole owner of everything I built. The lawyers have all the details, but remember this, my darling granddaughter. You were never nobody. You are a Winters. We build empires. Use this power wisely. And never let anyone make you feel small again. All my love, Grandpa. I read the letter 3 times before it sank in. I was rich, not just rich, wealthy beyond imagination. The legal documents confirmed everything. I owned a hotel empire. I had money in banks around the world. I had properties, investments, and businesses I didn't even know existed. I looked up the Drake family's hotel online. The Crown Palace was worth about £15 million. A nice business, but compared to my empire, it was like comparing a puddle to the ocean. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I laughed again. Tomorrow I would marry into a family who thought they were better than me because they had money. But I had 10 times their wealth. The wedding day arrived gray and drizzly. Typical London weather. I sat in the bridal suite at the church, looking at myself in the mirror. The plain dress made me look like a servant getting married, which, I suppose, was exactly what Mrs. Drake intended. My phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. See you at the altar, beautiful. I love you. Did he really love me? Or did he love the idea of me as his obedient wife? I was about to find out. The church was packed with 200 guests. All of London's elite were there. People who owned businesses, politicians, celebrities. And there I was, the nobody coffee girl marrying into their world. As I walked down the aisle, I heard the whispers. She's so plain. What does he see in her? Poor girl doesn't belong here. She's just lucky. A nobody who got lucky. Mrs. Drake sat in the front row, smiling like she had won a war. Mr. Drake looked bored, checking his watch. Ethan stood at the altar in his perfect tuxedo.
He was so handsome, my heart still skipped a beat looking at him, but then I saw his face.
He looked relieved, like he was finally doing something his parents approved of. The priest began speaking. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join Ethan James Drake and Lila Rose Winters in holy matrimony. I barely heard him. I was thinking about Grandpa, about the letter, about the empire I now owned. Marriage is a sacred bond, the priest continued, built on love, trust, and equality between two people. Equality. I almost laughed. There was no equality in this marriage. I was signing my life away to become their servant, but not anymore.
If anyone has any reason why.
These two should not be wed. Speak now or forever hold your peace, the priest said. The church was silent. Then I raised my hand. I do, I said loudly. Gasps filled the church. Everyone started whispering at once. What are you doing? Ethan whispered, his face red with embarrassment. I reached into my small bridal purse and pulled out Grandpa's letter and the legal documents. I have something to say, I announced to the entire church. Mrs. Drake stood up. Sit down, you foolish girl. You're making a scene. Am I? I asked, my voice carrying to every corner of the church. Because I think everyone should know who they're really dealing with. I held up the legal documents. My grandfather left me a small inheritance, more whispers. Actually, let me be more specific. He left me Winters International Hotel Group. The whispers turned to shocked gasps. For those of you who don't know, Winters International owns 47 luxury hotels in 12 countries. The business is worth approximately £500 million. The church erupted. People were taking pictures with their phones. Reporters in the back were scribbling notes. Mrs. Drake's face went completely white. She looked like she might faint. Mr. Drake's mouth fell open so wide I thought his jaw might break. Ethan stared at me like I had grown a second head. That's impossible, Mrs. Drake stammered. I smiled, a real, genuine smile for the first time in months. Is it? Let me read you something from the lawyer's letter. I unfolded another document. Miss Winters is confirmed as the sole beneficiary and owner of all assets belonging to the late Mr. Henry Winters, including but not limited to Winters International Hotel Group, valued at £500 million. Various properties in London, New York, Paris, and Dubai. Investment portfolios worth an additional £150 million. And controlling shares in 3 other businesses. The church was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. I looked directly at Mrs. Drake. Your hotel, the Crown Palace, makes about £2 million per year in profit. My smallest hotel in Dublin makes £8 million annually. Someone in the crowd actually gasped out loud. Mrs. Drake tried to recover. She forced a smile and stepped forward. Well, this is wonderful news. We always knew you. We're special, dear Lila. We could tell you came from good stock. Could you? I asked. Because 2 hours ago you told me I was nobody without your family. I pulled out the contract they made me sign. The one with all their cruel rules. Let me read you something else, I said loudly. Rule number 10. You will remember that without the Drake family, you are nobody. I held the contract high so everyone could see it. This is what they made me sign 3 months ago. A list of rules for how I should behave as their son's wife. Rules like asking permission to spend my own money. Rules like calling them sir and madam. Rules designed to make me feel like nothing. The crowd was getting angry now. I could hear people booing. Mrs. Drake's face was red. We wanted to help you adjust. Adjust to being your slave? I asked. Then I did something that felt better than anything I'd ever done in my life. I tore the contract in half. The church erupted in cheers and applause. Mr. Drake stepped forward, trying to take control. Now see here, this is all a misunderstanding. We've always treated Lila with respect. We're so happy to welcome her to our family. Are you? I asked. Then you won't mind what I did yesterday morning. What do you mean? Mrs. Drake asked, and I could hear the fear in her voice. I reached into my purse one more time and pulled out another set of papers. I bought the Crown Palace Hotel. If the church had erupted before, now it exploded. People were standing up, shouting, taking pictures. It was chaos. What? Mr. Drake roared over the noise. Yesterday at 10 a.m., Winters International purchased the Crown Palace Hotel for £20 million. That's above market value, by the way. I was feeling generous. Mrs. Drake started crying. Real tears streaming down her face, ruining her expensive makeup. You can't do this to us, she screamed. That hotel is our life. It's been in our family for 30 years. Funny, I said calmly. Because when I told you I was nobody, you didn't seem to care about ruining my life. Mr. Drake was turning purple with rage. We'll sue you. This is revenge. This is illegal. Actually, it's completely legal. I have the best lawyers money can buy. Would you like their names? Ethan finally found his voice. He grabbed my arm. Leela, what are you doing? We love each other. None of this matters. I looked into his green eyes one last time. The eyes I had fallen in love with 2 years ago. Do you love me, Ethan? Of course I do. Then prove it. How? Walk away with me right now. Leave your family's money and their cruel ways behind. Choose me over them, the way I was ready to choose you over everything. I waited. The entire church waited. Ethan looked at his crying mother. He looked at his furious father. He looked at all the wealthy guests staring at us. Then he looked back at me. And he let go of my arm. I can't, Lila. They're my family. This is my whole life. My heart broke for the last time. Then we have nothing more to say to each other. I started to walk away. At the church doors, I turned around one last time. The whole scene looked like a painting. The bride walking away, the groom standing alone at the altar, the mother crying on the floor, the father red with rage, and 200 shocked guests watching it all. Oh, and one more thing, I called out. Everyone looked at me. Mrs. Drake, you don't need to worry about maintaining your standards anymore. As of this morning, your family is worth exactly £347 in your checking account. I know because I had. My accountants look into your finances before I bought your hotel. Turns out you've been living beyond your means for years. The hotel was mortgaged to the maximum. You're actually bankrupt. This time, Mr. Drake fainted. I walked out of the church into the gray London morning, still wearing my plain wedding dress. But I had never felt more beautiful in my life. Outside, my new driver was waiting with a Rolls-Royce. My lawyers had arranged everything. Where to, Miss Winters?
He asked. The airport, I said. I have hotels to visit.
As we drove away, I saw Ethan running out of the church, still in his tuxedo. Leela, wait. Please. I rolled down the window. What, Ethan? I made a mistake. I choose you. I choose love. I looked at him running alongside the car in his perfect wedding clothes, and I felt nothing. The spell was broken. No, Ethan, you chose first. And your choice was very clear. But I love you. You love the idea of my money now. That's not true. I nodded to my driver. Drive on, please. As London disappeared behind me, I thought about Grandpa. He had been right all along. I was never nobody. I was always somebody. I just needed to remember it. 6 months later, I was standing on the balcony of my penthouse in New York, looking out over Central Park. Winters International had grown even bigger under my leadership. We now had hotels on every continent. My assistant knocked on the door. "Miss Winters? There are some people here to see you." "Who?" "The Drake family." I sighed. "All of them?" "Yes, ma'am." "Send them in." They walked into my office looking like completely different people. Mrs. Drake wore a simple dress from a regular store. Mr. Drake's suit was cheap and wrinkled. And Ethan Ethan looked tired and older. "Hello, Lila," Ethan said quietly.
Hello.
Mrs. Drake stepped forward. "We came to apologize. And to beg for your forgiveness." "I see. We lost everything," Mr. Drake said. "The house, the cars, everything. We're living in a small apartment now. Victoria works at a cleaning company. I drive for a taxi service." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said. "And surprisingly, I meant it." "We were wrong about you," Mrs. Drake said, tears in her eyes. "We were horrible. We treated you like dirt when you were worth more than all of us combined." "Actually," I said, "you treated me like dirt when you thought I was worth nothing." "That's the real problem," Ethan stepped forward. "Leela, I know I don't deserve it, but could we try again? I understand now what really matters." I looked at him for a long moment. This man who had once made my heart race with just a smile. "Do you know what I learned about love, Ethan?" "What?" "Real love doesn't come with conditions. It doesn't change when circumstances change. Real love fights for the person, not for what they can give you." "I fought for you." "No, you fought for your family's approval. There's a difference." Mrs. Drake spoke up. "Please, Leela, we know we don't deserve it, but could you help us? We're desperate." I walked to my desk and pulled out a check. I wrote something on it and handed it to her. Her eyes widened. This is £100,000. It's enough to start over. Find a small business, work hard, build something honest." "Why?" Mr. Drake asked. "After everything we did to you?" "Because my grandfather taught me that your worth isn't measured by how you treat people who can help you. It's measured by how you treat people who can't." They all started crying, even Ethan. "There's one condition," I said. They looked up hopefully. "Use this money to help yourselves. Don't ever contact me again. And if you ever treat another person the way you treated me, I'll find out. And next time, I won't be so kind." They nodded frantically. As they were leaving, Ethan turned back one more time. "For what it's worth, Lila, I really did love you. I still do." I smiled sadly. "I know you did, Ethan. But you loved yourself more." After they left, I went back to my balcony. The city was full of lights and life. Millions of people pursuing their dreams, building their futures, finding their worth. 3 months later, I got a wedding invitation in the mail. It was from Grace, my old friend from the coffee shop. She was marrying a teacher she met at the local library. The invitation was simple and handmade. "Please join us for a celebration of love, laughter, and new beginnings," it read. At the bottom, Grace had written a personal note. "Lila, I know you're probably busy running your empire, but it would mean the world to us if you could come. This is a small wedding for people who really love each other. I think you'd like that." I smiled and marked my calendar. The wedding was in a small church in Manchester. Nothing fancy. Just 50 people who genuinely cared about Grace and her fiancé David. I wore a simple blue dress and sat in the back. No one recognized me. I was just another guest celebrating love. When the priest asked if anyone objected to the marriage, the church stayed quiet. Because this was real love. The kind that doesn't need contracts or conditions. Grace looked radiant in her grandmother's wedding dress. David couldn't stop smiling as he looked at her. When they said their vows, everyone in the church could feel their joy. "I promise to love you not for what you have, but for who you are," David said to Grace. "I promise to choose you every day, in good times and bad," Grace replied. I cried. Happy tears this time. At the reception, Grace found
Me.
"Leela, you came. I can't believe it. I wouldn't have missed it." I said, hugging her tight. How are you doing? I heard about well, everything. I'm good, really good. Are you happy? I thought about it. Was I happy? I had more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. I had power, respect, and success. I'm content, I said, and I'm free. That's important too. Yes, it is. As I watched Grace and David dance to their wedding song, I thought about different kinds of wealth. I was rich in money, yes, but they were rich in love. Real, unconditional love. Maybe someday I'd find that too. Or maybe I wouldn't, but I knew one thing for certain. I would never again let anyone make me feel like nobody. Because I am somebody. I am Leela Winters. I build empires, and I know my worth. And that's worth everything. This story is dedicated to everyone who has ever been made to feel small by people who should have lifted them up. Remember, your worth is not determined by other people's opinions. You are somebody, and you always have been.